Well, what's up, everybody? This is Sia Nejad Sports, and I'm with one of my friends, one of my colleagues. And it's so cool, Buckets, that I have you on the show, aka Jon Eimer, aka Buckets, because you have this thing about you where people genuinely, oh, I think he left us. He's coming back. Don't worry. The thing about Buckets, he genuinely, wait a minute. Is he playing a trick on me? This would be so Buckets if he's playing a trick on me. I think he's going to be back in just 1 second. So I'll start this way since he's not here with me. The thing about Buckets that's so gravitating is that, here he is that I was basically just finishing my sentence. I was just saying, Buckets, everybody who comes across you just immediately likes you. And I think that's probably why, like, you're sitting here today and you're on Sportsline, you're on PointsBet, and you're on the early edge and you're doing all of these things. And I think I want to talk to you about, why that is essentially, because I think that's something that people can sort of take away from, maybe like apply to themselves. But what's more important to me for this show, Buckets, is trying to figure out, is there a roadmap that you took? It might not be the same roadmap for anybody else, but is there a roadmap that you took that maybe other people can apply to their own lives and maybe accomplish goals that you're accomplishing right now? Yeah, so go ahead.
First and foremost, Sia, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. Sorry about the little disconnect there. My wonderful dog, Freya, is playing this new game where she learned where the power outlet is. Nice. And so if she wants attention, she just starts smacking that. So fun little disconnect there, but we should be good now.
Oh, that's all good. So let me ask you this, just so everybody knows, because some people who are either watching now or maybe watching later, they might say to themselves, okay, who's Buckets? Like, what are we talking about here? So you're part of Sportsline, obviously. I work with you on a pretty much a daily basis. The Early Edge is part of Sportsline as well. You're also part of PointsBet. Is that where everybody can find you?
Yes. So the easiest way you can find me is pretty much any day here on Sportsline or Early Edge, whether I'm doing the show or writing articles online. I'm very, very active on Twitter, just at my handle right there, Bucket John Betts. And I do a show with PointsBet 2 to 3 times a week with Ian Paul Joy, where we sit down and just talk all things soccer, about an hour a day. So you can kind of find me all over the place right now.
Okay. So I want to go back a little bit because you haven't been doing soccer capping your whole life. You've only been doing it professionally for, is it fair to say, I mean, we can estimate, we don't have to be exact here, but like 2 years or so?
Yeah, coming up on 2 years.
And so prior to that, what were you doing?
Prior to that, I was one of those guys that worked probably 10 jobs within a 5-year span. I get bored very easily and tend to bounce around pretty aggressively. But the job before soccer handicapping and soccer analyst was I was in the real estate industry. I was an appraisal order specialist, which means if you needed to get an appraisal on your house, I couldn't do the appraisal, but I could find the guy to do the appraisal for you. So a bit of a change from that to all of this, but that's what I was doing right before I was found kind of by the Sportsline crew.
So I guess, how did they find you? In other words, you must have been doing something on Twitter, soccer related, for somebody to take notice of your picks and things of that nature.
Yeah, we'll get kind of into the origin story here, I guess we can call it. This will probably surprise a lot of people here, Sia, but I never really watched soccer much at all in my life. I never played. I really didn't care about soccer for the vast majority of my life. I got into, I'm about 2.5, 3 years into soccer in any capacity right now. During COVID, kind of when things shut down, my job went full remote. So I went home, packed up my computer like a lot of people, and just kind of sat around doing about 1/10 of the work I was doing originally. And at the time, sports betting was getting really big in my home state of Indiana. And so I was in a group chat with my father and my 2 brothers, and they were super just aggressive in NFL, NBA, everything. And the only thing I really cared about sports-wise was esports. So I was really big into like the League of Legends community, the Valorant community, StarCraft. I don't know if you know any of these, and that's fine if you don't.
Oh, dear Lord, no. Carry on, though.
Yeah, but I wanted to find kind of my niche within that community of my dad and my brothers so I could be a part of that conversation. So I had to find my own sport, though. I couldn't copy them on NBA or NFL. I had to be my unique little whatever I was trying to be. So when COVID happened, a lot of the main sports, as you know, shut down. Mm-hmm. So people were betting pretty much whatever they could find. I had people telling me, here's my table tennis lock of the day, or I'm betting darts tonight at 2 a.m. for Chinese darts because it's all I have. And I had to find something to kind of fit in there. And for me, I'm not really a guy who sleeps a whole lot. I'm up usually till 3 or 4 in the morning most nights, just kind of hanging out. And so what I found was Korean and Japanese soccer were two of the leagues that stayed open for at least part of COVID. So when all other soccer was shut down, I was up at 2 a.m. with nothing to do. So I started watching Japanese soccer. And it slowly became less about just wanting to be a part of the gambling conversation and more about the obsession of learning everything I could about the sport. Because the very first Japanese soccer game I watched had 7 goals in it. And I was kind of under the impression that a lot of people are of like, soccer's kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
You sit for 90 minutes, you don't really see a lot. But that first game was explosive. And I was like, oh, all right. Maybe this isn't that bad of a sport. And so I kept watching it. And I slowly learned how to bet it just so I could go to my parents and my brothers and be like, hey, Kashima Antlers tonight, over 1.5 team total. Like, that's the lock of the century. You got to take it. Trying to get involved. So I kept doing that. And I hit a streak with my brothers where I kind of hit 7 or 8 bets in a row. And I was like, okay, maybe this could, the dream of this could replace my job and I can just gamble for a living kind of kicked in. So I started posting my plays on Reddit. I don't know if you've been on Reddit much. Can be a little bit of a cesspool, a little difficult place to navigate. But there's a subreddit called Sportsbook where people would post their pick of the day. So you could post one time a day on this and people could tail you and kind of talk to you about that. And pretty much no one was posting because sports were dead at that moment. So I started posting. I said, hey, we're going to Korea, Japan, the Chinese Super League, whatever it is. I just wanted to be a part of this conversation still. And from Reddit to Twitter to eventually Jacob Halleck's reaching out to me, I just kind of kept building a following through multiple different platforms. And then Jacob reached out and said, hey, we don't see a lot of Americans obsessed with soccer like you are. Why don't you be a part of the Sportsline family? And his big pitch was, you get to meet Coach. And I said, I don't know who Coach is, but sure, like if it pays, like I'll give it a shot. And honestly, we just kind of kept snowballing, a little bit of luck over and over and over again. And now we're here.
Wow, you didn't know who Coach was. What's funny, though, is I knew who Coach was, but I wasn't really a big WWE guy. Man, imagine if, did he know you didn't know who he was when you met him?
I don't know if he still doesn't know, because when I first did a show with him, my buddy called me after and he goes, dude, that was the Coach, the heel, the blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, sure, man. Like whatever you say, buddy. Because I was just no idea.
Knowing Coach, he is somewhere listening to this and he's going to find a way to get the StreamYard link and he's going to hop into the show. Before I get to my next question, Buckets, I do want to point somebody out in the chat. By the way, the chat is completely blowing up. Appreciate everybody being in here. Hit the like button if you can. That always helps. But we have JMG Originals here. He says, this is Bo from Rachel's Bears. Thank you, Sia, for everything. You are amazing. My wife is on here too, trying to figure out how to chat. And then, of course, she did, because she pipes in with a hello. So just so everybody knows, Rachel's Bears, if you go to Rachel, and this is really important. So I know we're diverting a little bit, but rachelsbears.org is an organization. You can find out about it just by going to that website, but they basically help kids that are in need, like in hospitals, pediatric patients that, they're in hospitals. So you can kind of imagine what they're kind of going through from a day-to-day basis. And while there's other organizations like St. Jude's for cancer research for pediatric patients and so many other good organizations, this particular organization donates basically teddy bears and books for these kids, which I don't think I have to tell you how important that might be to a little boy or girl that's kind of going through it. So with that in mind, this show is effectively sponsored by them, because I'm going to be donating. At this point, we're up to $300 because it was based on subscriptions or new subscribers to my YouTube page. I think we got like 150. So that's $300 right there. I encourage everybody to have everybody subscribe to my page. But more importantly, I'm going to add another $100. So we're going to go $400 to rachelsbears.org. And I know there's at least a couple people who tweeted at me, said they did their own individual sponsorships or they've donated $25, $50 here and there. So hopefully you all will be receiving that. And I just want to say Sia Nejad Sports is going to be talking charities and trying to give to charities pretty much on a show-to-show basis. We're going to find a new charity to donate to. And Buckets, before we get to your story, I know you donate a lot to basically probably a lot of places, but I know in terms of animals, dogs specifically, Freya is a big part of your life. Can you just touch on, because just a month ago you donated to some charities as well?
Yeah, me personally, like well, first I want to say this, Sia, I'm a big fan of more even numbers. And so 400 is great. I'm going to put 100 in myself to get that to an even 5.
Wow.
Just to kind of, it makes it easier for me just to see that more clean number, but also, anything we can do to help the children, I'm not going to say no to.
That's awesome.
And for me, dogs are kind of like children to me. I'm one of those almost maybe annoying people to where it's like, I never plan on having children. I'm terrified of children. I'm an uncle to like 30 nieces and nephews, and I stay pretty far away from all of them. It's just, not something that I think I'm on this earth to do, but animals are something that I'm extremely passionate about. Dogs specifically. Freya is a big reason. If you've ever seen Freya, she's my German Shepherd. She's a big reason of who I am today. Like, I contribute or attribute a lot of my success and a lot of my mental health and well-being to having a dog. So dogs are very important to me. So last month, every Friday for the month, we did something called Freya Fridays, where however many picks we hit on that day, we would donate $50 to a different animal-based charity. And we did Paws for Pets. We did the Gray Muzzle Foundation. We did one for the Wounded Warrior Project Canine Unit. Basically, there's almost an infinite amount of animal charities. And so I was just kind of going through finding different ones that had causes that really kind of pulled on the heartstrings a bit and just did what I could there.
Can you tell me, because we're about to get through sort of your journey from a couple of years back, sort of COVID, post-COVID, and how that progressed into PointsBet and Sportsline and just being a part of those two outfits. Freya was a big part of that, no?
Freya has been a big part of everything in my life. So Freya is more than just a dog to me. She is a certified emotional support animal. She has done therapy work. She's done a lot of different things because I am somebody who, I'm trying to think how old she's turning 6 next month. So I've had her for almost 6 years. And I'm someone that for the past 6 years has struggled immensely with different things like mental health and with anxiety and with depression. And Freya has been a big part of just having that kind of staple in my life that no matter what happens on the day, whether it's a bad betting day, a bad work day, a bad whatever day, you come home to this goofy looking dog just smiling and, ready to be there with you. Freya's been a staple now for a very long time. And I don't think I would be where I am without her, especially in this betting space.
Well, I don't know if you're still going to be in this betting space, Buckets, because check this out. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Coach? I don't know if you were watching the show. I got to tell you. Buckets just said when he was found on Sportsline that he didn't know who you were. He literally just said that, and then you just popped up. That's a true story. It's a thing that just happened.
Well, here's the thing. There's been many, many times where Buckets has really walked that line of having a career and not having a career. And I feel like this is one of those watershed moments. So hopefully we'll get through it. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad this all worked out. I'm in Middle America. I took time away from my family just to be here with you and Buckets, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Good evening, boys.
Good evening, Coach. Listen, I want you to get back to your parents, to your family. I appreciate you taking the time out, but can I ask you a question? And this Buckets, this was not planned. I'm just telling you that right now. I don't know how Coach does this. This is not planned. There's no script here. Let me ask you this, because I'm about to talk to Buckets about basically how he got to where he was. And I think there's certain values or certain level of tenacity, certain variables that you see in people that help them carry them along. In other words, if you see something you really like, you're going to help these people out. You said it on my show when you were on Sia Nejad Sports. With all that in mind, what is it about Buckets? What is it about Buckets that you saw that you said to yourself, all right, I need to help carry this kid forward?
Well, where did I just tell you I was right now? I'm literally in Kansas. I'm in Middle America. This is where I grew up. These are the people that I know and the people that I love. So the first time that we met Buckets, and I say it all the time, you can hear the train, we're at the fair. This is what it's all about. But I also say this, if I can, it's like Patrick McDonald's here all over again. If I can make it out of this type of community and I can make it to SportsCenter and all the things that I've done, then in my mind, anybody can do it. But here's the thing about Buckets that separates him from other people. And I've told him this to his face, so I'm not saying anything that he doesn't already know that I think about him, is that he has embraced from day one. And when I speak to colleges, high school kids all the time, the business has changed. 10, 15 years ago, would a guy like Buckets be on national TV at CBS? Probably not, because you have to go through all the steps. But now I try to take the AMAGs and the Buckets of the world through the steps that I went through. And it's about branding. It's about trying things that are outside of your wheelhouse. It's about embracing maybe things that you don't know. And instead of saying, hey, this is embarrassing me, maybe this can help grow my brand. And I will say this, that there hasn't been one thing, not one thing, that I've asked Buckets to do on the early edge, privately, anything. He might say, hey, listen, this makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't really understand it, but I trust you. And if somebody trusts me with their career and with their livelihood, then I owe it to them and I owe it to him to do everything in my power to get him as far as he could go. Now, with that being said, I'm so incredibly proud of where he is, where he's going, where he's come from. And if Buckets can do it, anybody that's watching right now that's doing something just like you, Sia, that's doing something that they didn't want to do, that's doing something that they don't like, and they say, I like doing this, you got to do everything in your power to make that happen. And hopefully you run into people along the way that can help you with that. And don't be scared to ask, because Buckets is not scared to ask, and he's not scared to do. So I don't know that I've ever worked with a person in my life that's been more receptive to listening to me than Buckets, and I'm so, so proud of him.
Wow. Buckets, your response before we let Coach go.
Ugh. Thank you, Coach. That's all I think I can get out right now.
It's my guy right here. I'm telling you right now. I'll say this, and then I'll let you go. That the way sports betting is, but not just sports, but sports betting. And to see the joy that he has every single day, and he'll text me like middle of the night, I got this play, I got that play, without me even asking, because he enjoys it. And you can tell that he enjoys it. And whether it's the incredible video we put out where he's trying to guess the NFL logos, he knows he doesn't know them, but it's about, what do we say on the show all the time? Hashtag educate and entertain, don't we? And this man embraces that. So think about where he's at, not just early edge, but PointsBet, New York City, worldwide, the World Cup. I told him, I said, this is going to be the thing that takes you to the next level. So do everything you possibly can for PointsBet and for that show. And for 6 weeks, he worked every single day between the two brands, didn't take any off. And look where he is now. It should be a lesson to everybody watching at home who's young or that wants to change careers, but you got to give it everything you have. And Buckets does that every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely love that. Well, Coach, I guess we'll let you get back to your parents. Obviously, we're going to see you tomorrow on the Early Edge, among other places, of course. But Coach, man, listen, everything you've done for and with Buckets, you've done for and with myself as well. And we're not the only two, frankly. So not only are we indebted to you, but we just genuinely appreciate you every day. And the fact that you managed, I honestly don't understand how this happened. The fact that you managed to pop on at literally the perfect time, right when Buckets was talking about not knowing who Coach was when Sportsline reached out to him, it's just so perfectly Coach.
Yeah, it's the way it goes. But guess what? We're great friends now. And I tell you guys this all the time. We're going to take our brand, and for people who watch us on the Early Edge or on PointsBet or whatever, or Sia Nejad Sports, understand we become really great friends, and we understand that we can do more together than we can do separately. And you starting this show and all the different things that we're doing, we're just getting started. We're going nowhere. And I want people to be a part of what we're doing. And I would love to find another Buckets. I would love to find another AMAGs anywhere. So put your stuff out there and put yourself out there, because you never know. You could be the next Buckets. It can happen.
Absolutely. All right, Coach.
Be good, guys.
Thank you for dropping by. I
Thank
really
you, Coach.
appreciate you.
See ya.
Wow. That was amazing. Buckets, just so everybody understands, we got a lot of people watching. Did you know Coach was coming onto the show?
I had no idea Coach was coming on. And also because of me and Coach's relationship, a lot of times when we say the really nice stuff, it's behind the scenes, it's like text and stuff like that. So when he jumped in, I thought it was about to be a heel situation where he goes, well. So I was getting ready to fight, and I wasn't ready for the what he said there.
Hey.
But it was nice to see him.
This is Sia Nejad Sports, Buckets. It's a little bit of a different angle than we have on the Early Edge. Okay, let's get back to, speaking of emotional support, which I think, Coach, is that for you and for me and for a lot of other people. I do think we shouldn't leave the Freya conversation quite yet, because Coach said something that I think is really important, especially for those of you that are watching, that are in this sort of betting space that Buckets and I are in. It can be tough, right? Buckets, this is just one of those spaces where you go on a bad streak, you have people depending on you to some degree with their bets, with their money, and you can go on, like anybody can go on bad runs. And I'm just wondering whether you want to incorporate Freya or not, how do you handle that? Because you just said before Coach came on, you just said, that you basically deal with, mental health issues. And whether you're in the betting space or not, I can promise you that of all the people that are watching right now or that will watch later, I'd say probably half of them feel like they're going through the same thing, whether, it's a matter of degrees, obviously, but a lot of people have mental health struggles. I'm just curious how you have dealt with them.
So I've dealt with it in a couple different ways. And the first thing I'm going to say is that I'm a massive advocate for therapy for everyone. I've been very active with my therapist now for the past 8 months or so. And I think that that plays a big part in my just daily success of just winning that daily battle of getting up and working. So I'm a big advocate for therapy across the board. I think it's beneficial to everyone. Another thing that I will say is that, especially in the betting space, it can be very difficult to stay positive because there is a massive recency bias in what we do. See, I know you've experienced this to where you'll have that month to where it feels like you can't miss a bet if you try.
Mhm.
You hit your streaks where you go, I'm 10-1 this week, I'm 12-2 this next week, I had a 13-0 run, whatever the heck it is. And then you have a month where that all just happened, and you have a month where you'll miss 5 or 6 bets in a row. And for me, especially, I felt like losing 6 bets, I got more kind of anxiety and frustration out of losing 6 than the joy I got out of winning 10. So for me, I
Mhm.
had to find this balance to where I couldn't let myself be broken down by bad streaks. And I had to learn to celebrate the winning streaks more, because for a long period of time, I'd win and I would go, nice, that's what was supposed to happen. Now we move on. You win
That's
the next
right.
one. Nice. That's how that was supposed to go. It went that way. We move on. And then when one misses, I would take a loss very, very personally because I put so much time crafting this pick and it was supposed to work out this way, but it didn't. And so for me, there was it was difficult to find that line of just where I had to understand that losses are going to happen to everyone. It's part of the game, and you have to find your ways to cope or your releases. For me, you've seen it a couple times now to where I'll take a day and I'll tweet out and say, hey, I am gone until Monday. I'm not going to look at my screens. I'm not going to check my phones. Don't DM me. No plays, nothing. And I need that unplug for a couple days where I'll take Freya camping, or I'll, just not be in this battle station where I'm surrounded by 10 screens for 12 hours a day. And I just need that removal because I have to remind myself that even though betting is important and what we do is extremely important, there will always be more or things that are more important than winning your bets. And I have to remind myself of that probably more often than I'd like to.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, it's a tough business, and I think we also have to remind the consumer, the people who are betting, like, hey, you're still supposed to bet responsibly. Like a 2 or 3 bet losing streak is not supposed to ruin your month or not be able for you. Like you're not supposed to not be able to pay for something. Like
Right.
we're trying to do this, in a fun way, and we're trying to build bankrolls. But I do think there is an onus on the people that are listening and watching to make sure they bet responsibly. That's easy. It's easy for us to tell them to do that. It's hard for them to actually do that sometimes, but hopefully everybody kind of keeps the right perspective in mind. I do have a question when it comes to those losing streaks. And it's not just for you, for anybody, but like you have Freya, like a lot of people, when they're kind of going through it, they have family or they have friends or, a wife or kids or whatever the case may be. Is it Freya for you? Are you able to lean on your family? Like who is out there to either propel you forward or keep you steady?
I'd probably honestly lean on Freya the heaviest. And she doesn't even know it, which is, I think, what makes it easier for me, because when I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed, I know that I'm not, kind of bothering her with my frustrations. She just wants to go on a walk. She wants to play fetch. She doesn't really care how we got to that point. She's just excited to be doing it. So I do lean on Freya a lot. I do lean a lot on the early edge crew we have here as well, though. I've reached out to you before. I've reached out to Coach, to guys like Prop Stars, and just kind of said like, hey, man, this sucks and I don't know how to fix it. And you lean on those people that have experience in the industry to go, yeah, of course it sucks. It's part of what you do. Ultimately, we're trying to predict the future, and nobody's going to get that right all the time. So you have to kind of have these other outlets, whether it's people or animals or a TV show or fishing or food, whatever it is. You've got to have something that just reminds you that it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, so I think this is somewhere where I kind of want to sit for a second. For those of you that are watching, I know a lot of people, and I know Joe, you're in the chat, and we had a Sia Nejad Sports. I think it was with Femi Abebefe, where you were talking about a job situation that had you very like stressed and frustrated. By the way, thank you for being in here, Joe, Brian, Ashley, Rachel from Rachel's Bears, Allison. There's so many in here. We really appreciate you. Hopefully somebody got a screenshot of the 3 of us with Coach. Like tweet it out or something, tag us. Like that would be really cool if you did that. And retweet this show, by the way. It's on my profile. It might be on Bucket's profile too. It's just in terms of the live show. But I think something that's really important, like just from a Sia Nejad Sports angle, we've had probably 15 shows at this point, and almost every single show, I mention how you have to have a support system. And if you don't have one right now, go out and find one. And I know that's like kind of like almost like, contrived. Like, what do you mean go find one? Well, I mean, you can go find one. Like Buckets, he has Freya, but then he has his early edge crew. There are people, whether it's on the internet, like I've had people reach out to me on Twitter that now I have a relationship with, but sometimes you're like the people that you have around you, whether it comes to your goals or anything else, they're not the best people for you. So I'm not saying you should abandon those people. And Buckets, I don't know if you have any experience with this, but I have a lot of friends. When I, like, for those of you that don't know, I'm an attorney. I practiced law for 13 years. Then I jumped to farmer for a few years. Now I do this full time. But there were a lot of people that belittled the idea of A, leaving law, and B, ultimately jumping to media. And it's just one of those things where for as many people as I had belittling that idea, I had just as many that were like, that's awesome. I think you'd be great for that. I can totally understand why you're there. And I just think, again, this show is meant to help people. And I just want people to understand the people you have around you, if they're belittling your dreams or if they're putting you down or if they're just not fully supportive, there's other people out there that you can find that will support your dream. And Buckets, any comments to that? I mean, I don't want to get into like a very like cliche back and forth here, but I just know that there were some friends I had to leave behind because every time I brought something like this up, like a show, they would just like quietly or subtly belittle it. And you just don't need those people in your life.
Yeah. And it may sound cliche. I know it's easier said than done, but if you have somebody that is constantly pulling you down or tearing you down, you honestly owe them nothing. I had to cut people out of my life when I jumped to the sports betting space because the people in my life weren't exactly quiet about it, but were pretty vocal about their disappointments or their confusion or whatever it may be. And I, if this is my dream or this is something I want to pursue, and I think that there's potential for this to have success, it was tough, but I just got people out of my life. If you didn't even have to necessarily support what I was doing, but I didn't need the negativity of the constant reminder of like, it's not going to work out. You had a bad week. What's the point kind of thing. You're not obligated to keep anyone in your life. And I'm probably quicker than most to cut people out here, Sia.
Oh, that's such a good quote, that you're not obligated to keep anybody in your life. That's so absolutely true. Let me go back real quick before we push forward. The point where you were found by Sportsline, we kind of got like, I kind of interrupted that conversation because of Freya. Like, what happened at that point? In other words, Sportsline got in touch with you and they're like, hey, do you want to make soccer picks with us? How did that go?
Yeah, I got reached out to by Jacob Hallex on Twitter, and he said, hey, Buckets, again, I work with the coach, like, ooh, and I said, okay, that's fine. But he goes, we do a lot of content here in the sports betting space. We see that you're a soccer guy. We honestly don't have a lot of soccer guys here in the States that know about the leagues you know about, because even back then I was already betting on all the weird, more obscure leagues. And he goes, I'd love to get you in touch with Larry Hartstein and RJ White. Let's sit you down for an interview, maybe have you write a couple articles and see how you do. And so Larry reached out to me, and Larry said, I want you to write about this match between Barcelona and I think it was Celta Vigo or whatever it was. And so I wrote my article, sent it his way, and he goes, okay, now do 4 more. And so he just kept sending me these articles, and I don't enjoy writing, or at least I didn't. And so I was already, before I even started with them, I was frustrated, and I was like, okay, what are we doing here, guys? But then it turned on to, okay, you're hired, you're going to write these articles. We're going to put you in contact with the coach to talk about what it would look like to have you on the early edge. To which my response was, what's the early edge? So then we started having that conversation. Coach reached out to me. Hey, buddy. Started kind of giving me homework, is what he called it. So we met, we talked once on the phone, and he said, here's my vision for the brand. Here's my vision for you. Here's what success looks like to me in both of these regards. Here's your homework. And he told me, I want you in front of the mirror an hour a day practicing reading your picks. And until you do that for a couple of weeks, I'm not going to have you on the early edge. And I thought, that's stupid, coach, but I will do it because you asked me to. My mentality in life is pretty much just learn everything you can. So if you tell me to do something, as you mentioned, I'm at least going to try it. If it doesn't work out, fine. Wasted an hour, we move on. But I sat in front of my mirror, reading my script and practicing, smiling and going back and forward. And I did that for weeks. And then eventually they brought me onto the first Early Edge show. Didn't go great, but was good enough that I kept getting brought on and kind of developed from there.
So at that point, was your thought, oh, I'm going to start doing this full time, or, oh, this is just going to be something extra I do? And the reason I ask is because I'm wondering what that initial goal was. Obviously, the goal got way bigger pretty soon after that.
Yeah, the initial goal was not to be in the sports media space at all full time. I did not imagine that I would have a career in the space, or that I would be a professional betting analyst or handicapper or TV personality, whatever it was. That was never the intention. The intention at the time was we were looking to pay off a bunch of student loans, and if I could make an extra $10,000 a year doing these shows and articles, then so be it. I'll do that for the sake of, taking care of debt. And then about 6 months into it, I kind of sat back and I said, this is not at all what I thought it would be. And that's where kind of the larger dream, I guess, was envisioned.
And so what happened there? Because now, just so everybody, like, to catch everybody up that might not know you intimately, like, you do this full time. You make career money doing this. And I'm just tell us like how that revolution happened.
Well, the more shows I did and the more homework coach gave me and the more I practiced, the more I realized I'm not terrible at this, which I thought I would be at first. I was very nervous about, I kind of had a bit of a stutter growing up. And so the idea of presenting myself in front of a camera and having to recite all these complicated names and give all these lines with numbers, I just didn't think it was going to work out for me. But the more I did it with coach and the more I built the friendships and the likes of you, Prop Stars, M Squared, all these guys, and saw, their success, the more I was kind of like, this is more than just a little podcast with the buddies, sitting in your basement talking about sports. This is the kind of people I want to surround myself, because for the first time in a while, I'm seeing these people that want more than what they have and that want to really pursue these crazy visions. It's kind of, I was able to look around at everyone around me and go, this is somebody that wants to succeed. This is somebody that wants to be great. This is somebody that wants to do X. And I wanted to be a part of that ride with them. And so about 6 months into,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so about 6 months into it, I started getting into more of my little heel side. We did these little bits with coach back and forward, and coach would call me after and he's like, oh, buckets, you got to go back and watch your very first show on the early edge and then watch yourself now. And I did that. And I said, wow, how much I was able to improve in 6 months. This could very well be a career for me. If I continue at this rate, I'm just going to make this my everything now. And so I just poured even deeper into the soccer space than I already was.
And now you are with Sportsline and you are with PointsBet.
I'm with, Sportsline and PointsBet. I do stuff on HQ, especially when we were covering World Cup and Champions League. Kind of doing a lot more than I ever thought I would already.
What do you think was, because there's a lot of people that want to be in this industry or just in media in general, or maybe just in an industry that's completely unrelated to this. And this is a theme in all the Sia Nejad Sports episodes. A lot of people have this great idea and they're like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. And then like a day goes by or a week goes by and they come up with excuses as to why they can't do it anymore. They're too old for it. It's just not their thing. They're not going to be good on camera, just like you were telling yourself. What got you to step two? Because step one is always the idea, right? Like, oh, I'm definitely going to do this.
Right.
And people generally don't get to step two. So how did you get to step two?
I had two things that helped me get to step two. One of them is a very good and wholesome reason, and one of them is not so much, but I want to be honest with everyone. The first thing that got me to step two is I am a very hardworking individual, but I'm very, very spite driven. Just in general, if somebody tells me I can't do something, that will give me more motivation than I will ever get from somebody being like, you got this, buddy. Like, people doubting me makes me just want to, just show everyone wrong. And so when I first started and I saw the early comments of people being like, man, like, I don't know about this buckets guy. It's, not like nobody cares about soccer and nobody knows XYZ. He's not really presenting himself. Just all the comments. I would go through and read the comments, which I do not advise, but I just kind of use that as fuel. I was like, awesome. Jerry Berry 33 says that I'm a horrible handicapper. I'm going to show Jerry Berry 33 wrong. Made up the name. Don't know if that's somebody. Sorry if it is. But that was kind of my desire to really get into this more. And the second thing was actually, again, it was Freya related. Freya is a bit of a puppy mill dog, for those that do not know. So she has 1,000 health issues, and she cost more than a human child. And so we had a vet visit that was particularly expensive, and I was able to afford it because of the little things that I'd done with the show and with articles. And so when I kind of saw, my desire to keep her in the healthiest, happiest life that she could have, I knew that I would need more money. And so I don't like saying that money should be your motivator, but knowing that if I did well with Sportsline and if I did well with PointsBet, I could give Freya a better life. Absolutely. I'll do it every time.
Yeah, I love that. And again, it was somebody having to tell you too, to like practice a lot, right? Which you probably wouldn't have done. And if you didn't, I'm assuming that you would have had those first round of shows and people probably would have looked at you and been like, yeah, I don't think we can have that buckets guy on again.
Well, and that just the ability and the willingness to learn from people that are experienced in whatever field you want to be in is massive. When coach first called me and coach goes, buckets, I know in WWE I was the heel. I also had the baby face and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, doesn't matter. All you need to do is this. And he told me to do like the first bit. I was going to come in with sunglasses and say like, coach, shut up. I'm taking the show. That is something I never would have done. Was immensely out of my comfort zone. I don't like being mean or fighting people, but I did that on one of our shows. And afterwards people were like, oh, Buckets is taking swings at the coach, baby. He's back. And I was like, So yeah, that's a big thing too. Is just you have to, if somebody is already in a position of success in whatever industry you want to be in, you have to be a sponge. Just absorb everything you can from them because they're there for a reason, right?
Yeah, and I'll reference Derek Brown, who was on a Sia Nejad Sports episode. I actually just did a Fantasy Football Today DFS episode with him earlier today, by the way. But he reached out to a lot of people when he was trying to. He's in sort of our industry too, buckets, but it's like fantasy football, not betting necessarily. But long story short, we talked for like 20 minutes about all the people he reached out to on Twitter, on social media, calling people, just sending some of his work, like articles and things of that nature. So, I mean, if you're trying to break into anything, whether it's this business or anything else, reaching out to people and just like a lot of people are very complimented by somebody asking for their tutelage, asking for their advice, asking for their mentorship. So if you're out there and you're just like, I'm not sure where to go, I mean, there's a lot of places to go, including YouTube, like learning on YouTube or reaching out to people. There's so many things. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, or girls, a lot of girls in the chat, if you have any questions for Buckets, we'll answer them before we get out of here. I do have a few questions though before we get out of here. Buckets.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I try to do on this show, other than just motivating people and inspiring people, try to get them again to take it to level 2, as opposed to just be at level 1 and then just forget about it. I also try to talk about healthy habits and things that like have helped people get to level 2, level 3, or so on and so forth. Is there anything, whether it's a routine or something like a podcast you listen to, or somebody that inspired you, like on Instagram? Like, is there anything that you have, or eating healthy? Like, is there anything that you have got sort of gone to over the last 2 years that you know is a fundamental part of your growth?
A fundamental part of my growth is not necessarily eating healthy, but remembering to eat, because I went through a long period where it'd be 4 p.m. and I would go, whoa, I have not, had anything yet today. So just a reminder to always like eat. But my big thing, honestly, is just any level of fitness was huge for me. I got really, really big into the gym, and it was kind of my almost frustration outlet, to where whether I had a good or bad day, it didn't matter. I knew that, at 6 p.m., I'm going to have 2 hours of just away from everything. I'm putting in my aggressive music, and I'm just going to go for, personal gains here. Something that's not related to work at all, something that's not related to my success in my industry. It's just taking care of my body, because if you're sitting for, 12 hours a day, watching 40 games during the day, I need to have that kind of separation still where I can get up and do something else. So for me, it was just getting more active in the gym, and kind of that gym life was very important to my success, I'd say.
Yeah, I can second that. I'm super busy because Buckets, I do what you do, but then I also have like the 2 kids and the wife and all of that. So it's a lot. And, I cover pretty much every sport at this point. I mean, obviously I focus on a few, but I pretty much cover every sport. And that's not me complaining. That's me saying, even with all of that, I have to find time for the gym. I absolutely have to find time for the gym. And it'll be hour, maybe 2 hours, like Bucket said. But if like that is a mental health thing more than it is a physical health thing. And you won't realize that until you consistently go to the gym for a certain period of time. And then you'll realize, just by being active, getting your cardio going, maybe actually seeing some gains with weights and things of that nature. It is such a fundamental part of mental health, in my opinion. And Buckets, I'm glad you brought that up. Setbacks. Last 2 years, maybe you haven't had any setbacks. I mean, obviously you might have some bad months here and there. Anything that you had to overcome in the last couple of years, any sort of like, something broke or something you just couldn't figure it out, like whatever it is, was there a moment where you were like, I don't know that I can move forward?
I've had a couple of those moments, a couple within the past 2 years and a couple before that 2-year period as well. Something I know that we've touched on already is that something that I've struggled with now for a while has been kind of depressive thoughts and, the anxiety and everything that comes with being in a poor mental state. And especially during like my pre-therapy phase, I would have moments to where it was like, I've got a show at 10, I've got 2 articles due, I've got a second show at 3, and I've got, 3 picks to put on whatever site. And I would wake up in bed and I would just not get out of bed. And I'd text, whoever it was and going, hey, I'm sick and I'm out. And I would just lay in bed until Freya eventually was like, I'm either going to pee on your floor or we're going to go outside. I'd let her out to pee. I'd go back to bed. So I've definitely had those blocks to where a combination of poor bedding, craziness going on in the world, family issues, pet sickness, whatever, to where it's gotten me to the point to where it's like, I don't just want to do this anymore. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe all the work and the effort and the time doesn't actually bring enough value to where I can justify getting up anymore. And it's a very dark thing to just, bring up out of the blue like that. But it was a very big part of my life and a part of my success is getting through those hurdles of questioning why you're doing this or questioning, is it worth it? Because you're not going to know if it is or not until you actually get over those hurdles and get out of bed and then try again. And so I've had a couple of those, it's gotten much better in the recent years, but I've had a couple of those days where I was just like, man, I don't have it in me right now to do anything.
Let me ask you this, because
Yep.
this is a really important moment in this show, I think, because we kind of covered how you sort of go about your healthy habits and things of that nature. But when it comes to those moments, what was it? Because in those moments, you're by yourself and you're basically talking to yourself, right? Like you're not
Right.
literally talking, but you're like, you are having thoughts in your head. What was the positive thought that got you basically out of bed? What was it? Is there something in those instances where you told yourself, all right, like this is fine, or I'm doing that, whatever it is that got you out of bed, that got you moving forward?
So there's two things that did in those particular moments, and I'm going to get very intimate here with you and kind of going into some of the things in my past. Won't go too long or too crazy, but when I was in college, and this isn't a very known thing, when I was in a really, really bad mental space, I actually back in college made an attempt at my own life, and I got to the point to where I hit that wall, and I was like, you know what, I actually am done. I'm just gonna kind of give up, and so I was having suicidal thoughts, and I acted upon those thoughts, and I lived through it. And so something that gets me up and out of bed every day is the reminder that there was probably a good chance that I wouldn't be here today. And the fact that I still am, and being a spite-driven person, I got to show that old John that he's an idiot and that you can keep moving forward and that you can keep going. So as sad or as tough as a situation like that might be, that's always a good reminder for me when I'm really just feeling down to be like, you're here for a reason. Like you got to keep going. If you weren't supposed to be here, you wouldn't be, because you tried not to be. So let's get going. And the second thing, again, is just, it's Freya, man. When I'm laying in bed, it's like, I can make mistakes and I can be stupid and I can do things that, hurt myself, but I'm not going to hurt this innocent dog that is, going to pee on the floor and feel bad about it if I don't get out of bed and let her outside. So on a much lighter note, Freya is just great for me, because without her, there's been times to where I probably wouldn't. I probably would just lay in bed all day, but I can't, because I got to take care of her.
I get that. It's funny, the first thing you said about, back in college and the suicidal thoughts and acting upon them and all of that. Yesterday, when I was thinking of the rachelsbears.org, I was thinking, there's so many times in my life where I feel like I've plateaued, or I feel like I should be at that next step, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm not there yet. And that's not just in the media field. I mean, I might have thought that in the attorney field and in other fields I've been in, but because we were in the process of like donating to rachelsbears.org, and we had that, the idea in my head sort of triggered, like, you don't have it bad, dude. And people who
Right.
aren't where you are, Buckets, or aren't where I am, they don't have it bad either. Like the people who have it bad are the people that are like in the hospital, right? That for like the rachelsbears.org people, like that, because that organization is, they have partnerships with a bunch of hospitals. And I've seen pictures, like they were kind enough to send me pictures just a couple of days ago of some of the bears in the books being donated. And anytime any of you that are listening or watching feel like, man, just like the world is against me, or just I'm down and out, and I guess I'm just not going to figure things out. Like, you are in so much of a better and more fortunate spot than so many people. And if you're just going to look on Instagram at all the people who have made it, or Twitter at all the people who have made it, then you're literally looking at 0.0001% of the population that you, by the way, still could be if you weren't so busy sulking. And so I just think everybody, including you, John, like, you need to have the right perspective that, like, we don't have it bad. Like there are so many other people that have it so much worse than us, that their one wish would be to have it as bad as we have it when we think we have it bad. So I just, from a perspective standpoint, I think, Buckets, you're like a living embodiment of that perspective, right? Because you must look back now and say to yourself, like, man, like I almost did something unbelievably stupid, for lack of a better way to say it, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I look back and it's something that I'm very embarrassed about, because when I look back at a situation like that and seeing how unbelievably stupid I was, I then have to look forward and say, how can I use that situation as a positive? And how can I turn something as dark and stupid as that was into a thing that can help people? And so, as you mentioned, you need a healthy dose of perspective to realize, hey, you got to just wake up and realize it might be tough right now, but look at the world around you, right? You got to be willing to use those experiences to help other people, because there's some people that are going through something 10 times worse than I could even imagine, and they're still pushing forward. So perspective is always an incredible thing to have. but it can be difficult to have in the moment for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the critical part. The key to perspective is taking yourself outside of the bad moment.
Yep.
If you truly have perspective, you can take your bad moment and understand that it's just a singular moment that you're going to be able to overcome. 2 questions before I get you out of here, Buckets.
Yep.
Some of you are thinking, hey, we got football on at 8 o'clock. I know it's preseason. It's the Hall of Fame game. Nobody cares. Well, I care, and I care if you care. So 2 questions. One is a very basic question. Advice to those who want to start their own thing. Just assume for the sake of this question, they want to start their own thing in the media space, or really in any sort of venture. What would be 1 or 2 things you would tell them, hey, you got to do this?
My number 1 piece of advice would be start creating. I don't care what it is. I don't care what level it is. I don't care what you're doing. Start writing, start making videos, start tweeting, start making clips. Just start doing stuff, because without that practice, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how much you believe in something. It's probably not going to happen. But if you just start writing, pick a game, write an article, make a pick, talk about why you think that pick's going to hit, and just start practicing your craft. That's the number 1 thing people can start doing today. No questions asked.
Yeah. I mean, start creating and be creative. I think that's really key. Try to differentiate yourself. Don't be silly about it necessarily, but there's a lot of things. If you just sit down and be like a little introspective and maybe write down some creative ideas, maybe you wrote 5 or 6 things down. One of those might be a really, really good idea that's different from everybody else. So you can still have the same content, but you're delivering it in a different way. Or you brought on, you have a different way to convey it. Whatever the case may be, that there are so many ways that you can set yourself apart. I think I covered the advice column, right? Because I want to get to my final question, unless you had something else to say there.
No, ready to go to the last.
Okay, this is big. This is the question I ask everybody before I let them go. I think, again, you're my 15th guest. We're gonna have a lot of. Speaking of mental health, by the way, my sister is a PhD psychologist, or I should say psychiatrist, and she's gonna come onto this show because she has a new app. And it's really groundbreaking in my opinion. And it's on how to deal with stress. And I don't want to get into the ins and outs of it. She's not coming on next week or anything. She'll come on in a few weeks probably. But Dr. Sia Nejad, she has something that I think people are really going to enjoy. This app is pretty incredible. And actually, Buckets, I want you to actually test it out as well, because you might really enjoy it as well.
Yeah,
all right.
I'd love to.
The final question is 3 people that you'd like to thank right now for basically getting you to where you are today. That doesn't mean like getting you to PointsBet and Sportsline necessarily, just from a mental state, from an occupational state, however you want to internalize that question. If you could thank 3 people right now, who would those 3 people be?
First one I'm going to thank is the coach. I mean, I would not be here. I would not be in the space. I would not be half of the presenter I would be without his help. He was the guy that from day one, he brought me in, put me under his wing and said, this is how you're going to make it. And I'm going to help you get there. He's also the guy that wasn't afraid to be hard on me. I can't tell you probably 10, 15, 20 times. He has texted me a screenshot of one of my tweets and said, this is stupid. Don't do this. Delete this tweet. And it could be me, fighting with someone about a game or arguing or whatever. He goes, that's not important. Focus on you, focus on your brand, focus on helping others. Just don't, get bogged down by all the crap that happens on Twitter. So I'm going to thank the coach first and foremost. Coach, thank you for everything you've done for me. I would not be here without you. A second guy I want to thank is a guy named Ian Paul Joy. He's my co-host on Stoppage Time with PointsBet. Not only did he do kind of the same thing Coach did, and that was bring me under his wing, he's one of the guys that really, really emphasized and helped me focus on mental health. He is a very outspoken advocate of therapy and things of that nature. And he's the kind of guy to where he will reach out to you every single day just to check up. He goes, I don't care how the picks went. I don't care how the show went. How are you doing as a person? Again, I wouldn't be here without him either occupationally or mentally. So Ian Paul Joy has been a very big part of everything I've done.
Can I stop you right there before you bring up the third person?
Yes.
When he does that and you're having a good day, let's say like the day's fine, your picks are fine, whatever, and he texts you to check in on you, does that still resonate with you on the positive days?
It resonates with me maybe even more on the positive days, because I know he keeps up with my picks. So he knows when I have a bad day. So when he reaches out going, hey, buddy, just checking in, it's like, that I'm doing poor today. But the fact that he still does it on the positive days when I might not necessarily need the check-in, really, it almost means more to me on the good days.
So I think that's a lesson for everybody, including myself. Like a lot of people, they think, oh, let me check in with my friend that I haven't talked to in a while because I know he's going through something. Well, what about checking in with him or her when everything's just fine? I mean, I think that's just from your reaction, Buckets, and that's why I asked. I mean, it seems like it's either as meaningful or more meaningful when they reach out in the times where you don't necessarily desperately need them. So again, it's very easy to text people. It's very easy to check in on them or call them or whatever you want to do. Message them on social media. Just something to think about there. Okay, that was 2 people. Who's the third person?
Last one's going to be a little bit of a combo here. I'm going with Mama and Papa Buckets. They haven't always totally understood what I was doing in the space, but they've done their best to be supportive, even if they haven't really, seen this as a career at first. Because I remember when I first started, it was kind of like, "What are you doing, buddy? Little guy, what's going on over there?"
Mm-hmm.
But they've really kind of accepted what I was doing. They've been supportive throughout all of the processes, and they've been doing that same thing. I know if I'm upset, I can call my mom and just say, "Hey, this is awful." And she goes, "I don't know what that means." I'll explain why I'm mad. And she goes, "I don't know what that means, but I love you." And I go, "That's exactly what I needed. Thank you." So my parents have been supportive through all of this.
All right. Well, those are 3 really good answers. You certainly made up for the coach comment 8 minutes into the show by having him as one of the 3 people. But Buckets, listen, I knew this was going to be a great show. First of all, we had so many people in the chat. I think there's only been, listen, I've had Daniel Negreanu on this show. I've had Coach on this show. I've had, let's see, Chris Cody from the Levitard Show has been on this show. Rick from Rick Run Good. There's been a lot of, like, David Meltzer, if I didn't already mention him, that guy's giant. I think this is the most people we've had consistently in the chat. Listen, that's not me. I'm not doing that. That's definitely you. So before I let you go, anything you want to say to the people that follow you so intently? Because honestly, you just have a lot of fans. I think it's just occurring to me that I'm like a little jealous of it. What do you want to say to those people that they're in this chat for you at 7:00 on a Thursday?
Well, thank you for watching. Even though you said NFL starts tonight. Was that a thing?
No, we got 8 minutes. It's kind of a thing. It's preseason. It's like it's not really a thing, if I'm being honest.
Okay, well, still, regardless, thank you for taking time to watch, and thank you for taking the time to support. I have people tell me all the time. They go, "John, you've got like almost aggressive supporters backing you up on Twitter. Like I'll have a bad day and be like, 'Sorry guys,' and I'll get DMs, I'll get texts, I'll get comments of all these people saying, 'Buckets, we know you're fine. You'll bounce back.' Like, I appreciate what you do. I do not think, honestly, I would still be doing this without the support of people in the comments and people in the chat, because that's the kind of stuff to where it's just, again, it's more motivation. I want to make these people that trust me and that support me and that back me up all the time, win or lose, I want to help them and I want to make them happy. So I wouldn't be here without them. So thank you, everyone in the chat.
And I think it's important for them to know who you are outside of the sports landscape, which I hope this show helped achieve. Honestly, I appreciate you giving us the time. I don't know. Are you on the early edge tomorrow morning at 10?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know if you are or not. I know I am, but for BPE Friday, I don't think you are on tomorrow morning. But I was going to say I'll see you tomorrow morning. But I know you'll be on a show, if not CBS Sports HQ, with me very, very soon. So one of the greatest people I get the pleasure to work with. There's so many great people at Sportsline, don't get me wrong, but it's super, super fun. And by the way, I remember the sunglasses moment because it wasn't too long ago I was on that show, and it was super cool how you did that. You like rotated your chair and you slowly spun around. You had the sun. I mean, we got to catch that and post it, because that was like, it was like you've done that before. And I know for a fact you've never done anything like that before.
Someone made it a GIF too. So sometimes I'll hit a play. And I'll check the comments and I'll see 3 GIFs of me turning and putting glasses on. And I go, "Oh, that's weird."
Oh, that is amazing. Well, Buckets, thank you for coming on to the show. And everybody in the chat, thank you for being so active. That's really what I want with these shows, because I think people who are watching it live, I think they really feel the impact of the advice and some of the struggles and some of this, a lot of the stuff we talked about on all of these shows are live. So please subscribe. Please tell your friends to subscribe, because honestly, it's not just for me. I actually think this show is helpful. Every single one of them. And I just think if I can help, and I've gotten a lot of personal messages, mostly on Twitter, saying, "Hey, oh, you helped me with this. Like, I'm starting to do this, or, I'm achieving this just because I watched an episode of you and Coach or Daniel Negreanu or whoever it was." So I really appreciate everybody spreading the word. And we're going to have a guest next week. I think I might have Tony Cotillo on next week. This guy has his hands in everything. He manages to do so many things. And he's got a family. And so I think budgeting time is really an important issue too, that maybe Tony can speak with as well. But we're going to have a lot of big guests, some athletes. Still trying to get RG3 back on my show. I had him on to Win Daily. And hopefully I'll get him on to Sia Nejad Sports, among others. So thank you, everybody, for checking in. And we will be checking out now. This is Sia Nejad Sports. We'll see you next week. Buckets, thank you so much. We'll see you next time, everybody.